A retirement garden is more than a hobby. It's a personal oasis with constant reminders of the simple joys in life. And our gardens speak to us with constant reminders about the choices we make and our place in the world. So today we'll take a tour of my retirement garden, and I'll share some of what I'm growing, some of the things I've learned, and some of what this garden is saying to me. Hi, I'm John. I'm 61 years old, and I retired last year. And like many of us, before I retired, I didn't have a lot of time to spend in my garden. So now, for me, a garden has become a quiet place, truly an oasis, where I get to work and be mindful of what I'm doing and just take my time and focus and learn new things. So I thought it was best to start this video in this section of my garden. It's actually one of the oldest sections, and it predates my retirement. Some of it does. I started, when I first started gardening here, by building these 2 raised beds. And you can buy raised beds, but I chose to just go to the local lumberyard nearby. Picked up some 2x12s in 8-foot lengths, cut them up, and made roughly 4 foot by 4 foot square raised beds. Doubled them up high because we have a lot of wildlife around here, squirrels, groundhog. Saw a groundhog the other day. There's a fox in the area, and other things, lots of rabbits, and they definitely would get to the garden if it was at ground level. So having it raised was how I started. But honestly, for the first few years that I did this, it didn't do all that well. I think I was like a lot of hobby gardeners, and I bought some plants at the local nursery, planted them. I tried to pay attention to the soil, but didn't do regular fertilization, and wasn't very mindful about what I was planting or how I was taking care of it. And so they just got overgrown and didn't produce much. So a big addition since I retired is all of this trellising. And it's just something I had seen on a couple of other gardening channels on YouTube, and something I wanted to try, and not very hard at all. So up here, I got some additional 2x4s that I attached to the existing structure, did some overhead cross beams, and something I had seen online and I thought was really cool. I got this marine wire with tensioners, strung them across, and I was able to get these growing strings, and they just hook up top, fasten down below with some ground hooks, and training the tomatoes to go vertical. So we'll see how that works out this year, but it's one of the lessons that I'm learning in my garden, is that there's always something new to learn and try. But besides that, I have a purpose in this garden. So left to their own devices, these tomato plants, they go every which way. They're vines by nature. They'll produce a lot of leaf and foliage. Getting them to produce a lot of usable, nice tomatoes requires some constant attention and pruning, and it's given me a purpose to be out here in the garden and to take care of these plants. I'm training them to grow up the trellises by pruning off some of the lower branches, anything that crosses over. And while sometimes it might look a little crowded in there, they're actually growing in very nice vertical columns now. Another thing I have going on in the garden is the green beans, and they are starting to produce. There we go, you can see it, there's a green bean there. So those also are climbers. So everything I've done here now has a vertical growth, and it's because I'm taking the time, showing a little patience, and working with the plants to get them going up in the right direction. It's sort of more of the same. There's a few different varieties of tomatoes over here. So what are all these tomato plants? There's some that are called Early Girl. That's a variety that should start producing pretty soon. There's a lot of nice flowers on these plants. So we've had a bit of rain lately. Now the sun is out. I think we're going to see some production pretty soon. And those should be among the first tomatoes. They're called early for a reason. There are cherry tomatoes, the nice little ones that you put in salads. So these grow in clusters. Some of the flowers here. And there's some good old-fashioned beefsteak tomatoes, the kinds you slice and you put on hamburgers and sandwiches and such. So looking forward to those. There's a few pepper plants sprinkled in. And another addition to the garden this year, I've always wanted to try them, is the cucumbers. So the cucumbers are also being trained to climb over this trellis, which I made from some simple garden fence. This is a 3.5-foot fence that I picked up at the hardware store. I cut it into segments, attached it to my wood trellis, arched it over, I don't know if the cucumbers will get all the way up there. I hope so, but we'll see what happens. But that's, again, this is the oldest section of my garden, but it's something that I needed to do a bit of an upgrade on, and being in retirement and having that time and that focus has really just given me a chance to do this, and I'm just really looking forward. I'm enjoying the time I spend out here and figuring these things out, and B, I am just looking forward to what this produces, so I'll be keeping an eye on it. So the next section of my garden is over here, and these are parts of my container garden. So again, if you can see them, these are called green stalks. They're available online. I can put a link in the description. Pretty neat. Each of these planters, actually, if I come out and you take a look, they can each hold up to 30 different plants. So something that's changed a bit, and in my retirement garden versus before, I started with this planter over here, and it did pretty well. Originally, I pretty much only just planted herbs in here. So you've got all the basics, you know, sage, this is oregano, got thyme over here. But this year I really got experimental. So learning that, you know, the garden is a bit of an adventure and that it's an adventure worth taking, I really branched out. I had seen other people just planting all kinds of things in these towers, in these planters. So I went full in, and so I've got going on over here, and I'll come down, you can kind of see in the lower level here, there are actually some pepper plants right here. There's a few different varieties. This is spinach, and I've been harvesting spinach for a few weeks now. I've also branched out to do some red sail lettuce, and these are carrots. I just threw the seeds into the container. Of course, you know, I had done all the right things in terms of mixing the soil, making sure it was good fertile soil, and so I've got carrots sprouting up here, and again, more peppers. This is a shishito variety of pepper right up here. And what else have we got going on? Basil. Oh, and one of my personal garden favorites, the Swiss chard. I get down here, yeah, this is the Swiss chard. It tastes amazing, and it is really super easy to grow. So yeah, vertical gardening. And then I've had a lot of fun this year with a second tier, and I've really branched out. So actually down here, I put in a tomato plant, and it looks like it's in this small little container, but those are actually all full of soil. So this tomato plant is doing, I'd say, almost every bit as well as the ones over in the raised bed. So I'm just really experimenting, and I'm anxious to see what happens between these plants and the ones over there. This is doing well, and again, lots of little flowers on here. And you'll see intermixed, I've got the marigolds again, just to attract the pollinators. So green stalk towers, great way to garden. And I mentioned at the start of the video that there are just lessons everywhere in the garden, so I'm going to try and get in close here. These are my strawberry plants, and you can just see right down there it is, this like one beautiful simple strawberry. And it just kind of reminds me, like when I see that strawberry there, and I think about, you know, what it was like when I was working and what my life is like now, it just reminds me. There's an old story about a monk who's on his daily walk, and he's suddenly chased by a tiger, and he finds himself at the edge of a cliff, and he goes down below the edge, and the tiger's above, you know, ready to eat him. And as he looks down, he sees a chasm that when he falls, that's the end. But as he looks to his side, he sees a strawberry plant, and on that plant is one strawberry. And the story goes, he picked the strawberry and ate it and enjoyed that strawberry as much as any moment in his life. And, you know, it's obviously a simple story about appreciating the small things and joys. Now when I'm retired and I see a strawberry like this in my garden, I'm reminded of all those years, and whether it was being chased by figurative tigers, right? Working in a corporate environment sometimes feels that way, whether you're being chased or the constant chasing, the things we're after. And knowing that in the other direction was really just an end, that there was nothing more. You you know, you forget things, you forget the little things. So now here we are, I'm in the retirement garden between the chasing and, you know, hopefully a long life, but ultimately an end. And it's just so important to remember that these simple little things. I bet that's a really good tasting strawberry. I'm gonna pick it. There we go. Here's my strawberry, fresh out of the garden. Boy, that's good. Sorry. That may be the best strawberry I've ever had. All right. So again, enjoy the little things, and gardens are a great opportunity to remember that. So we're going to do a little bit of harvesting here. Let's see what we've got. So up here are this is some spinach. Take a couple. Yep, that's a nice spinach leaf. Down here, let's see. Go around. We'll turn this so we can see it. Hopefully, there's my red sail lettuce leaf. So we are making a salad today. Got an eggplant going down here, but I don't need any basil today. But these you have to kind of keep harvesting. Same thing up here is some dill. You can see I went variety here. I mean, this is talk about lessons. It was just great getting this second green stalk planter. Just broadened my horizons around the types of things to grow and what I could possibly make happen. Carrots from seeds, dill that I got. This is thyme. The basil I talked about, eggplant. There's 3 varieties of pepper: shishito, poblano, and jalapeno, all growing in here. And this is the harvest today, just from the greenstalk towers. Kale, a lot of the red sail lettuce. There's a few varieties of spinach in here, Swiss chard, leafy greens, and all just from these 2 containers. And that's just not even, there's still so much going on in here that's going to produce in the future. It's just the season for these right now. I can see, like, again, carrots. It looks like I'll be picking those starting soon, and very encouraged about the pepper plants. Can't wait to see how it turns out. Over here is the newest section of my garden. This is the rose bed. This was actually the newest section. None of this existed. So to put in these rose plants, I really had to think a lot about the amount of effort that I was willing to do. This is, again, there's a lot of clay in this yard because of the hills and the proximity to the river. I think there's a lot of like these big rocks, and so I'm gonna kind of zoom in. You can see the rocks that are lining my gardens for the most part come out of this yard, so which is pretty cool. You're gonna stand up. So the thing about roses is, when I did the research, they can be pretty tough, right? So the soil actually has to be fertile and good. It has to well drain, so they were not going to do well in the crummy clay that's typically in this yard. So for this bed, I actually spent probably 3 solid weeks, and my YouTube channel suffered for it a little bit, but I'm back. 3 weeks of just digging down. So shovel, pickaxe. I did use a tiller that I found, an electric one, just to dig up the area. But I had to shovel all that dirt out. Dug down about 18 inches because I just wanted to give them a good chance. And then I went and got some garden soil, and then some good compost mix, and just churned it all together. I mulched really well in this area, and I gave it a try with the roses. And I'll say, like, right now, it's definitely paying off. The roses, they are definitely in bloom, and like I said, it was a lot of work. So that was another lesson, and it really kind of got me thinking again about retirement. And I think one of the things we talk about a lot as retirees is just, there's sort of this regret about how hard we worked through the years and maybe how much we worked. I've talked about it in other videos, just the amount of time I spent in an office environment, and think of it as hard work. But I get out here in the garden and it's a different feel. So like I said, that was definitely not easy. There was a lot of work that went into digging that up, and it was hard work, but it felt different. I enjoyed it. And so I think one of the lessons, again, in retirement is, when you look back at your career, probably one of the things that makes all that hard work a regret is we weren't sure of the purpose. What was it producing? Whereas here in the garden, I can work for hours. I can really work hard. I mean, that was wheelbarrows of dirt. It was carting rocks up and down the hill. And but the end result is just something beautiful, and it's something productive, and it makes sense, right? So definitely, you know, one of the lessons is it's not how hard the work it is, it's what it produces and what it's about that I think makes us feel different. And now I'd like to hear from you. How's your retirement garden going? Have you tried one? Is this inspiring you to start one? I'd love to hear some of the things you're growing. Because again, this is just, again, beyond the hobby of having a garden. There's just so much opportunity to learn, to think about things, to have those moments of quiet. I hope it comes through on the video. You can hear the wind chimes in the back and the birds kind of chirping out there. I just love my outdoor space and my outdoor time here, and it's one of the joys of retirement. So please consider subscribing to the channel. I hope to hear from you in the comments. And remember, keep your retirement as an opportunity to grow and thrive and experience new things. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.